Thanks for listening to Mike Douglas, Michigan's retirement coach.
And I'm Heather Branch here with Mike to talk about ways to help you prepare for your financial future. LifePlanWealth.com is where you can go to begin your own conversation with Mike and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there if that is more convenient, or again, find us anytime at LifePlanWealth.com. So as we are in the middle of our own technology fights here on this podcast recording today, if you're listening, you cannot see the feature that Mike has discovered on his phone, but somehow he has been able to trigger fireworks in this video. If you want to see what we're talking about, go ahead and do it. I know you want to do it.
I've been exercising self-constraint thus far, but in my defense,
on the YouTube channel,
we are only seconds in.
There it is. Technology.
I think they are outstanding.
I'm never going to get control again. I will never gain control back. It will be all about how he can work in his own little screen effects moving forward.
Let's just celebrate it.
I support you. I support. Okay. All right. Can we focus, please? We have things we need to discuss.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
All right. But seriously, though, we have to discuss about the recent passing of somebody, a very important figure in the world of finances, because it was actually Warren Buffett's right-hand man. Rest in peace, Charlie Munger. He has recently passed away at the age of 99. First of all, I mean, I know that these guys obviously know a lot about money, but maybe they need to also write a book on how to live your best life, long and healthy living is what Mr. Buffett and Charlie Munger was doing. He actually, it turns out, a billionaire himself, was the one who inspired Mr. Buffett to invest in great companies and do that at decent prices. And it was something he was famous for. Mr. Munger was known for his Mungerisms. For example,
Warren, if people weren't so often wrong, we wouldn't be so rich. If I can be optimistic when I'm nearly dead, surely the rest of you can handle a little inflation.
Charlie's big on lowering expectations.
Absolutely. That's the way I got married. My wife lowered her expectations. I think I've offended enough people.
Right.
He obviously has a sense of humor about him. One of the many reasons I'm sure that he was Warren Buffett's one of his lifelong greatest friends. And what's interesting is the whole idea of his investment style, because he preferred simple, understandable investments and said the complexity, it just often leads to confusion, and increased risk comes along with that. Thinking about the work that you do for the people that come into your office and their retirement plans. I mean, gosh, talk about something that has gotten so complicated, just trying to figure out our own personal retirement levels, or our own personal retirement plans, I should say. What are you seeing as far as similarities in this idea of Mr. Munger's investment philosophy and what happens with people trying to plan their retirement and all the moving parts we have to consider?
Yeah, I think that in terms of understanding where you are, most people's frustrations comes from a lack of clarity. You know, we have these investments and they're doing something, but I don't know what. The market's moving. I don't know why mine's doing what it is. Now, there is a certain level that we want to be aware and we want to understand and have knowledge. But there's also a certain point at which we say enough's enough, my sponge is full and I don't need to hear anymore. And it's finding that balance. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are living the life we've wanted to live, and that whatever our finances are doing are just moving us towards that goal. They're moving our needle forward. So as a result, that's how we build a successful retirement plan. We use a phrase a lot that's simpler, safer, better. If we can make retirement simpler to the point where you understand it well, safer where you won't lose everything, then that is the definition of better. Because a lot of times it comes in, well, what do you do different than anybody else? It's not that. It's the same stock market. But if I can help you be educated, understand where you are, and make it simpler, that's one. If we can make you accomplish your goals with less risk and less volatility and less probability of issues, that's safer. And at the end of the day, that means you live a comfortable, more better life for most people as they go on. So that's just a general statement, but it's how it works for a lot of people. They want to understand what's going on. And to Charlie Munger's point, complicated doesn't mean better, and confusing doesn't mean confident, right? Actually, the more confused you are, the less confidence you have, the less peace you have. And to live a successful retirement life, it's not about, for most people, not for everybody, for most people, it's not about having the most interesting portfolio. It's not about making all the returns. It's about golfing. It's about seeing your grandkids, seeing people that you want to see, traveling the world, whatever life's supposed to look like for you. It has very little to do with your investments. The investments are just the conduit that gets you there. And so I think that if we can model out a way that is simpler, safer, then it'll be better.
I have to imagine also for a lot of people, especially people that come into your office, I mean, is there not, at least for half of the people that come to you, they just look at you and go, I don't want to deal with it. Like, it's gotten so hard and so complicated. I have worked my whole life. I am done with taking on all this responsibility and just burning myself out. When I retire, I don't want to have to sit around worrying about it. That's, it's kind of almost kind of like you got to be grateful for some of the complexity of all this because it keeps you employed. But for somebody who is getting close to retirement, already retired, it's like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm exhausted. This is why I'm retiring. Yeah,
I just sat with someone yesterday and him and his wife were joking that because he's self-managed all the way through.
Yeah.
But now they're retiring. They want to travel and they want to transition. Because he said, he's like, I know how to grow it, but now I got to figure out how to keep it. And that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
And so she was joking that the last 3 weeks, as they've gone from, just getting to know us and we heard their story and then they became clients, the transfer process of watching money move from one place to the other, not being the one clicking the button has, he said it's been challenging, but good for him is what he said, because he's just like, and she kind of jokes. She goes, well, at least he's not getting up in the middle of the night to go check the portfolios anymore. It's just,
oh no, is that what he was doing?
It's just one of those things where he's one of those guys, he couldn't turn his brain off. And so if he couldn't sleep, he'd go down and just check on stuff. A lot of us have stuff like that. If you can't turn your brain off about something, you get up and you go read, or for him, it was, he would get up, not out of fear, but just out of curiosity, because he has always done that.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just a different lifestyle, and it's more about what they are doing rather than how the portfolio is doing. So that is a great thing for them to transition in life. I had another client who, after losing a bunch of money from basically 2001 to 2009, he lost a ton of money using advisors, fired his advisor, got a couple TV screens and started hooked up to a computer and started monitoring daily. It took him 9 years to get to the point where he was ready to retire again, because he had retired once, went back to work basically full-time monitoring his portfolio. He'd get up, was at the computer before 8 a.m., researching, studying, watched the market all day long, and would close down at 5. And that was his retirement life. And that was not what they
That's
had
not retirement.
Of. No, and it's not what the plan was. The plan was we're going to retire and then we're going to do this travel, do these different things.
Yeah.
So they came on with us back in 2018. And as we went through some steps with them, it took 6 months or so for him to become comfortable, trusting, understanding. But it's because he'd gotten burned before.
Got it.
And so by the end, he was out landscaping. They were traveling. They finally took the train ride through the Canadian Rockies. All those things are what life's supposed to be about. And to understand those things is to build a successful plan. And you had mentioned earlier, but there's that on our website, lifeplanwealth.com. There's a button that says start your retirement roadmap today. That is for those who want to have these conversations. If you want to talk to someone who does this all the time, if you want to consider transitioning it, if you want to just have someone to sound some things off of, click that button and we'll have coffee and talk and hear your story. Because once I heard the one client's backstory of getting burned by the advisor and losing all this money, it really helped me understand what he wanted life to look like in the future. So we say all the time that people's backstories inform you to their future story. And we're looking for that. We're looking to understand the why you are where you are and why it is you want to go where you want to go, and mapping those things out in a way that is simpler, safer, and better.
I was mentioning before the idea of complexity it seems to be the name of the game for a lot of folks when they are figuring out their retirement plan, and that there are so many moving parts now. So what would you say you prioritize in your office, the biggest moving parts when it comes to figuring out a plan, maybe the first phase of building out a retirement plan? What are the moving parts that you have to have figured out for every person that comes in?
Yeah, there's 4 core principles you have to build a successful retirement plan.
Okay.
There are things that fall outside of this, but most of it falls under this umbrella. And that's if you cover income, taxes, risk, and legacy. If we cover those 4 things, income first, because there's a saying, without income, there's no such thing as retirement. You have to go back to work. So it's not that you need to have earned income coming in, but if you balance your Social Security, maybe a pension, and then using your investments appropriately to get income, then that's how you solve for your life expense goal. Everything you want to do built into an expense goal. After that, we go address taxes, because taxes for most retirees is one of the greatest opportunities or liabilities in their portfolio. We always look at diversification, trying to minimize the risk in our portfolio, but there's actually been a lot of studies that says just by a blended model. And if you really maximize your tax benefits, it'll boost up your returns in your portfolio. So there's an interesting piece there. So income first, taxes second, and then risk, the third one. Build a plan that is appropriate risk for who you are today, not who you were 20 years ago, not what your 401k recommended, and not what some 10-question questionnaire gave you and it came back and said you're moderately conservative, but actually understanding risk, because risk isn't bad. Confusing and misunderstood risk is bad. So the problem is we don't have an issue with risk. We have a problem with not knowing why we lost. If I choose and take a calculated risk and as a result I lose money, that's okay. If I trust someone else to keep me safe and they lose me money, that's not okay. Because the agreement was you're supposed to be keeping me safe. My job was to go retire and take time off. But yet you didn't hold up your end of the bargain and I took the beating. So uncalculated, unbalanced risk, misunderstood risk is a big thing. And the last piece is legacy planning. We work really hard to provide for our families, to save for our future, and then to have the government come in and just take a big chunk out because we didn't do some proper estate planning, that's not appropriate. We need to understand when it comes to legacy, it's not just about when I die, but it's still while I live. Some people say, I really, really want to do trips with my kids and grandkids or invest in their education or invest in their future. Well, then do a living inheritance. That's what we call when you take money today, invest it in your loved ones while you're here so you get to be part of it and see them, versus you die and there's this pot of gold that people get and they won't have had the moments with you. So building a legacy plan, making sure you're not taxed unfairly at death, and that as much as you possibly can keep in the family, you keep in the family. Those are the 4 core tenets. If you take care of those 4 things, most other things smooth themselves out. Okay.
But obviously for a lot of folks, understanding what needs to be taken care of, or even just these basic fundamental 4 items, it can be confusing and can feel overwhelming, even for the most intelligent people. Obviously, Mike, you work with people from all different avenues of life, all different levels of success. So know this, we've talked about before, the judgment-free zone. Like you said, you just come in, have a conversation, have a cup of coffee. It's relaxed, no pressure. Just getting to the bottom of it all, figuring out what needs to be prioritized for each individual and for your retirement plan to help you achieve your goals. So let's get started today. You can reach out to Mike and his team. Just find us anytime, lifeplanwealth.com. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there if that is more convenient for you. Or again, find us anytime at lifeplanwealth.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit lifeplanwealth.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.